What up, YouTube? So I saw this interesting problem and I wanted to solve for it. And I realized that there are multiple ways to solve for this problem. Well, if you know a circle, let me draw a circle up here. So if you know a circle, you know that the point from one end of the circle to the other, that's the diameter. And then the half the diameter from this point, from any point of the center to any point in the circle, that'll be the radius. So let's label this the R. Let's label the whole thing a D for diameter. So that's what we have. And I saw that there are various ways to solve for this problem. Well, the easiest and probably the quickest way to solve for this problem is to plug in either of these points, right? And if you read the problem, it says a circle in the XY plane has a diameter with endpoints 2, 4, 2, 14. And an equation of this circle is, and then they list out the equation x minus the quantity of x minus 2 squared plus quantity of y minus 9 squared is equal to r squared, where r is a positive constant. What is the value of r? So, I mean, like I was saying, the easiest way in a test setting would just be to plug in one of these points, and that should give you your answer. So if you take, for instance, if we plug in the first point here, so we'll just plug in the x for x here. So it'll be 2 minus 2 squared plus, and then we plug in a y of the same point that we're using. So this one, in this case, then this will be 4 minus 9 squared is equal to r squared. So 2 minus 2 would just be 0. So 0 squared would just be 0. So this component goes away. And then we have the 4 minus 9, which will give us negative 5. Negative 5 squared. Negative 5 squared will be 25. This will still equal, we'll set it equal to r squared. So now we'll have the 25. 25 equal to r squared. And then solving for r, we can take the square root of both sides of the equation, and we get 5 is equal to r. 5 is equal to r. So that's one way, the first way of doing it. The second way would have been if you plug in either point you plugged in, you would have gotten the same answer, quite frankly. So for instance, if we plugged in the second point, so second point would just be the 2 minus 2 squared, and then the second point here would have been 14 minus 9 squared is equal to r squared. Again, this part goes to 0 because 2 minus 2 will be 0, squared will still be 0. And then we have the 14 minus 9, which will give us 5. And then the 5 squared is equal to r squared. In this case, we can, at this one, we could probably, we obviously know that the 5 squared is going to be 25. So we could just take the square root here, quite frankly, and end up with 5 is equal to r. And this will be our answer in both ways. So these are two ways in terms of plugging in a point. The other way that you could have done this problem would have been to realize that. So let me erase all this so I can show the work for the other way that I'm talking about here. So erasing all of this. So you see they've given you the point of the diameter, right? So you can use that same point. You can use the distance formula to solve for whatever the length for the diameter is. And then once you have the length for the diameter, you can divide it by 2 to get the answer, because the radius is merely half the diameter, right? And so that's what I'm going to do here. So the first sentence here says a circle in the XY plane has a diameter with endpoints 2, 4 and then 2, 14. So all we're going to do is just use the distance formula here which we can also denote as maybe the diameter. But in this case, that's just, we're using a distance formula. So it'll be like this, the square root. And so the x's subtract, from themselves. So the x components, this x here and next x here, 2 minus 2 will still be 0 again, squared, plus the y components. So the y components, we're gonna have 4 minus 14 squared, and all this is still under the square root. So again, this component goes to 0 because 2 minus 2 would just be 0 squared. I mean, that's just will be 0. And then here we subtract 14 from 4, and we'll get 10. So we'll get 10 squared. So 10 squared would be 100. And the square root of 100, mind you, this is still under the square root, and we're using a distance formula. So the square root of 100 would just be what? It'd just be 10. And so this represents the diameter, right? So this D here denotes diameter. And then we know that, going from the diameter to the radius is merely a question of dividing this by 2. And so we divided the diameter by 2, and we get 5. And this would represent the radius. So this will be the second way of solving for this problem. I hope this was a great deal of help to you. If you have any math questions or engineering related questions, programming related questions, you can shoot them my way. And if you like this video, do make sure to hit the thumbs up button, and do comment if you have any concerns or any suggestions. And I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.